Welcome to the second part on diligence. Today we'll look into the dynamics of the moon, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Pluto as being integral in the formation and maintenance of a person's diligence in life. In part one, Marilyn Monroe's life showed how she expressed her evolutionary intentions through her own diligence and how societal pressures, her trauma, and its resultant weaknesses in her undermined her will. Today we'll look into the life of Greta Thunberg, a contemporary activist, who has responded differently to her own challenges, both personal, societal, and political, including conspiracy theories that negate her individuality and integrity. Yet she sustains her diligence. Greta came into this life with a need and desire to know and understand this world, right? Her Pluto and Sagittarius. To logically order and understand the world, she understands herself, and thus gaining security for herself. As an example to all of us, she has identified with what she learns of the world, and to the degree that she has identified with something greater than herself, she has made this her mission in life. In her case, with Pluto polarity point in Gemini, it is to tell the truth, no matter how inconvenient, right, in order to transform human life. When addressing world leaders at the UN Climate Action Summit, this back in September 2019, Greta said, right here, right now is where we draw the line. The world is waking up and change is coming, whether you like it or not. Right? And having heard of climate change at the age of 8, she didn't understand why so little was being done about it, which led her to be depressed. And this led her to stop eating and talking at age 11. She struggled with depression until she started her school strike program almost 4 years later. When she started protesting every Friday, her parents didn't like her missing school, but they respected what she wanted, to make a stand. And her father said she could either sit at home and be really unhappy or protest and be happy. So she had support there. Greta was able then to skip school on Fridays to protest in front of the Swedish Parliament with a sign declaring school strike for climate. Through social media, this sparked an international movement that now has millions of youth, and which are now joined by older people to protest climate change. Greta and other youth throughout Europe continue to pressure leaders and lawmakers to act on climate change as a result. As you may know, Greta was diagnosed as having Asperger's syndrome, OCD, and selective mutism. She has publicly shared her views about having Asperger's, calling it her superpower. Yet her Asperger's way of monotone speech, her OCD tendencies, and social awkwardness has made her more of a target of those with other contradictory political and financial agendas. Certain conspiracy theorists mark her as a negative force in the world who is controlled by her parents, even by the deep state, and funded by George Soros. I'll leave a couple links for you in my blog. In March 2019, Greta was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. In that September, she was a speaker at the United Nations Climate Action Summit. And there she lambasted the UN Secretary General and the world leaders and lawmakers with her very fiery words. She said, "You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet, I am one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing." She also said, "We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? She yelled at them. She was a spokesperson for the world. In December of 2019, about 3 weeks before her 17th birthday, she was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year, the youngest person yet to earn this honor. She has since taken the gap year between high school and university to continue campaigning and to visit Mexico, Canada, and South America. She did this to meet other climate activists and to see firsthand areas most affected by climate change. Her identifying with her mission has been increasingly made clear to be genuinely for the benefit of the whole world. We can look at her life to be a sacrifice for higher ideals. She has Neptune in Aquarius and trine to her North Node in Gemini. And this is in service to her polarity point, Pluto polarity point in Gemini, and Jupiter in Leo. So Greta's personal values and self-esteem is intimately tied to her conscious will, Venus conjunct Mars. And in a very powerful, transformative way, Scorpio. On the very practical and steadfast stage in Taurus. Yeah. Her moon in Capricorn shows emotional maturity and soul responsibility. In evolutionary astrology, the moon reflects past life emotional conditioning and instinctual responses. Her Capricorn moon suggests Greta carries karmic memories of duty, restraint, and societal responsibility. She may have incarnated from lifetimes where emotional expression was suppressed in favor of service or survival. I'd say that Greta is an example to explore different themes, right? She channels Capricorn's discipline, Scorpio's depth, Libra's justice and assertiveness in moral clarity, right? Seeking balance and fairness. Cancer's care and Sagittarius's vision, okay? The moon in Capricorn, okay, she's exploring emotional maturity and boundaries as a duty to humanity. Her Venus in Scorpio shows deepening values through shadow work, okay, that manifests love as transformation. She doesn't fool around. Mars in Libra, practicing moral courage and peaceful protest as justice in action. Her Saturn in Cancer can be ancestral healing and emotional resilience as healing karma. Her Pluto in Sagittarius, you can say as storytelling as a tool for awakening truth as a fire of transformation. In anthroposophic terms, the moon in Capricorn aligns with the etheric body's disciplined rhythm. Greta's emotional life is structured, often channeled into moral action rather than sentiment. Okay? Her soul may be working through the polarity of warmth and coldness, learning to soften the rigidity of duty with compassion. Her evolutionary task in this is to evolve from stoic detachment into emotionally grounded leadership. Her activism becomes a vessel for healing collective emotional numbness. Her Venus in Scorpio speaks to a soul that seeks profound emotional truth in relationships and values. Greta's love is intense, loyal, and uncompromising, and she's drawn to what is hidden, taboo, and transformative. Through an anthroposophical lens, Venus in Scorpio resonates with the astral body's capacity for devotion and sacrifice. Scorpio calls her to transmute personal desire into collective healing. Her aesthetic and moral values are forged in the crucible of suffering and regeneration. Her evolutionary task is to refine the power of attraction into a soul-aligned magnetism. Greta's presence evokes deep reactions, and she calls out the shadow of complacency and calls for regenerative love, really. In Greta, Mars in Libra sees conflict as opportunity for moral diligence or moral dialogue. Mars in Libra suggests a carrying pattern of through diplomacy, justice, and rational awareness. Greta's activism is not aggressive, well, it's assertive in its moral clarity, seeking balance and fairness. Through an anthroposophical lens, Mars here activates the I as an I organization, her capacity to act from her spiritual individuality. Libra's harmonizing her harmonizing impulse tempers the Mars fire, making her a warrior of peace. And she confronts injustice not with rage but with poised conviction. Her evolutionary task through Mars is to master the art of moral confrontation. You can see that in her. And Greta's soul is learning to wield conflict as a tool for awakening, not division. Her Saturn in Cancer points to karmic wounds found nurturing through family and emotional safety. Greta may carry karmic themes of emotional boundaries and perhaps ancestral burdens, perhaps from lifetimes where emotional needs were unmet or sacrificed for duty. I had mentioned that. And so, Saturn here challenges the etheric and astral bodies to integrate emotional maturity with spiritual boundaries. Her soul task involves healing the collective wound of emotional neglect, especially in relation to Earth as mother. Her evolutionary task is to build inner structures of care. Greta's activism may be a way of reparenting the world, offering the emotional accountability that was maybe denied, but definitely unfulfilled in her karmic past, but definitely in the world's, Pluto reveals the soul's deepest evolutionary intention. In Sagittarius, Greta's soul seeks transformation through truth, belief systems, and global consciousness. She is here to challenge dogma and ignite moral awakening towards truth and global transformation. Pluto in Sagittarius activates the spiritual will. Her capacity to penetrate illusion and catalyze metamorphosis. Her mission is prophetic, echoing the archangelic impulse of Michael to slay the dragon of materialism and awaken cosmic consciousness, really, or conscience, really. Her evolutionary tasks is to embody truth as a force of liberation. Greta's presence, she disrupts comfort, and calls forth the soul's higher vision. She's not afraid to face the uncomfortable. Through anthroposophy, Greta can be seen as a Michaelic soul, one who incarnates to uphold cosmic truth against the forces of what's called harmonic materialism. Her planetary configuration suggests a karmic inheritance of restraint, intensity, and moral clarity, now transmuted into service. Greta's activism is not merely political, it's spiritual warfare. It's a call to awaken the moral imagination of humanity. So, considering both parts, 1 and 2 of Diligence, I suggest some activities for you. Okay? You'll find these in my blog at midnightpoint.com. Okay? So whether you're alone or able to work in a group of 3, or just yourself, or each person acts out exaggerated scenes of slothfulness and overwork. You can do this in 3 sessions. And you can journal or discuss in the group how each role felt being acted out. Discuss, when do I lose momentum? When do I push past my limits? What is slothfulness? The sleeper, you can say. What is workaholism? The machine. Yeah? And what is diligence? The devotee. Explore cultural, familiar, and personal narratives around work. So whether you're working alone or in a group, look at Mars, Saturn, Moon. What does soul-aligned diligence look like in, in your own chart? And each person does do a drawing, and then, if you're with other people, share that drawing, or just explain in journaling. Share to the group the sign, house, and aspects. And this is an artistic, social experience to not only explore, but to share how we live diligence in our lives. Until next time.